Welcome to the Scottish Business Network podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the big SBN interview. Today I'm delighted, we've got a fantastic interviewee, and I'm going to butcher his name, so Charles, apologies in advance, but I've got Charles Kergaravat on the call. How did I do, Charles?
You're doing great, man. This is starting out really well. You're doing better than Breton people to say my last name, and it's a Breton last name, Kergaravat.
Great. Good start then. Okay, very brief introduction because I want to allow you space to introduce yourself properly. We met at a Burns evening, actually. Bizarrely enough, obviously Scottish-based event, but held here in Dublin and Ireland. And I was very privileged to get to sit next to you. And you're just someone that lends themselves to a podcast because you're, gregarious, entertaining. You bring that great New York charm with you. But let me just give you a bit of an introduction. You're American, originally from New York, but you now base yourself in Brittany, France. You moved over there in 2015, I believe. But importantly, for this podcast, you're founder of the Interceltic Business Forum, which connects Celtic nations through business innovation and cultural exchange. I believe it evolved out of the world famous festival Interceltique de Lorient. Am I butchering that? Lorient.
Yeah, almost Lorient.
But now it's grown into a fantastic platform for entrepreneurs, investors, diaspora communities, and it's spread to Brittany, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Cornwall, and beyond. So Charles, I've already hogged the mic too long. Tell me, what's your background? What brings a New Yorker, born and bred New Yorker, to Brittany, France?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. We did sit next to each other at the Burns night, and we actually both had the haggis. And if I remember correctly, it was actually pretty good. So Charles Kergaravat, born and bred in New York City, but of Breton parents. My parents left Brittany when you kind of sometimes had to find a job, and they left, and they thought they would stay 2 or 3 years. They stayed over 52 years. So I was born there, and I grew up there, but I had the chance to go every summer to Brittany to be close to my roots. My parents were Breton speaking, so they shared that with me, usually to yell at me. But I had that combo of, the amazing chance to be in New York City and grow up there, but also, get back to a Celtic country and see what it was all about, and see my family and my ancestors, and realize that was really important. So I work in tech. I'm a CMO, a chief marketing officer for tech companies. So I work in innovation and startups. And at some point, it just made really sense for me, being a kid who had gone to this gigantic Inter-Celtic festival, 900,000 people every year, a lot of culture, a lot of fun, a lot of beer. And I would just run into somebody who was a business person by chance. And I said, darn it, what if we got everybody together in the room that was interested by business, innovation, the problems of Celtic nations, and sharing our success, and also thinking about how we can collaborate more. So that's the idea behind the Interceltic Business Forum. Started out as an idea, but has become a big success, because now every year we do one in Lorient, but it's kind of populated elsewhere. We've done editions in Cardiff, in Falmouth, in Cornwall, in Galway, in Ireland. We've never done one in Scotland, but maybe in the future.
We will definitely need to up our game then. There's definitely an open invitation there. I definitely say that in behalf of Russell Dalgleish and the team at the Scottish Business Network. Always welcome, and we'd always be delighted to host across there. There you go. I've just thrown Russell under the bus. So as I mentioned, in 2015, you moved across to France. Obviously, having that background, you moved across.
I went to Brittany, right? Is that?
Yeah,
is that in France?
Yeah. Yeah, so you moved across. As I think I saw you post, you said you couldn't take your career with you. So
Totally.
it was a big move. Talk me through that experience and the sort of key challenges you had to overcome with that move.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I can recommend this to people. I was 39. My daughter was 6 weeks old. I quit my job in New York City in finance to move to a place that probably had more cows than people. Clearly, I could not do the job that I was doing in New York here in Brittany, but I made that choice because for love. My wife was from Brittany as well, so there was a decision to kind of seek quality of life and maybe take a break from the hustle and bustle. It's maybe a little bit scary, but I think we each have to believe in ourselves and see what we can do. And in this case, it worked out pretty well. I've done a lot of things in the last 10 years, working for some of the high-flying tech companies here in Brittany, but also making a mark in other ways, on a nonprofit front, starting things like Braze America, starting things like the Forum. So I think it's important to believe in oneself, even if it seems super challenging, and be open and dynamic and always try to find new ways to do new things. And I think if you do that, things work out.
Yeah, fantastic. And let's step aside for a moment. I'm curious, how did you meet your wife? You obviously
Oh,
met her in Brittany, did you? Like during one of
no, totally not. So I was the president of the Bretons of New York, and I would organize events, fun events, and it was a dancing thing for St. Patrick's Day, and she heard about it because she was Breton, she was from Lorient, so she heard about the event. She came, we danced. Now we have two kids, so I guess that's how it works.
that there was a close connection there between you dancing and then having two kids. I'm sure there's quite a lot else in between. But that's a lovely story, and St. Paddy's Day as well. Fantastic.
Totally. No, it's I think the SBN, Scottish Business Network, understands diaspora, and I think when you're far from home, it's kind of fun sometimes to get together and do events. And in that case, it was something that was kind of natural, but also having it open to others. I think maybe I'm a good dancer. I don't know, uh, but you can put all those things together. And there's a lot of organizations around the world. I think the Celtic people are a great example for others to maximize their diaspora and think about how do you tap into those people who are usually doing amazing things when they're abroad. And a lot of times it's a choice, right? They leave home, but there's a piece of them that kind of stays, and sometimes they do want to give back. So those type of events, bringing them together and seeing outside of dancing and having a good time, it's like, hey, how can we do something else? How can we think about the future and the future of our region? So within the forum, we pick topics that are common between the Celtic nations. We could talk about renewable energy. We could talk about the difficulty of doing innovation in kind of the west of Ireland, the west of Scotland, but also think about, hey, we've got these awesome diasporas. Are we doing enough of them? How do we get them to work together better as well outside of just one Celtic region? So I think this is something that we have a strength and that we have to tap into a little bit more.
Absolutely. And you mentioned strengths. Obviously the Celtic nations and regions have phenomenal strength in terms of culturally and the general personalities. I know that's a real generalization, but sometimes there's a sort of accusation maybe the Celtic regions are too humble and don't play to our strengths enough. Would you agree with that, or is that unfair criticism?
So I think we're all binded together by these strong cultures and that history and Celtic languages, and we must do everything we can to preserve that. We also punch above kind of a little bit more than our weight. That's been a tradition of ours, and we're quite proud of that. But sometimes that thing of being too humble is true as well. I think we might, if we're in Brittany, we look to Paris too much to solve every problem we might have. Other Celtic nations might look to London to figure everything out for them. And I totally disagree with that. And I think the forum's a great example of that. Is like, hey, we can get in a room and we don't need to ask permission, right? We can maybe ask for forgiveness later, but we really have to get together and think about what are these problems that we want to solve? How do we help each other? And that's a huge obstacle because it's like, hey, let's take time and put ourselves in the room. So every decision does not need to be made in London and Paris. I can tell you that. And I think we're proving that with the forum.
Yeah, so tell me a lot more about the forum. You've given me a bit of background, but what's the key purpose and objectives of the Interceltic Business Forum?
Yeah, so when it started out, and I was saying this before about I was meeting someone interesting in business by chance at the festival. The festival is 10 days. It's 900,000 people, 5,000 musicians, just an amazing example of how great Celtic culture is from all the nations. But inspired by events like South by Southwest, because I'm an American. If you've ever had the chance to go, it's really great, combining culture and business together. And I said, hey, look, we can have our mini South by right here in Lorient. And just simply saying, hey, I want to hear about the success stories that I don't get to hear about. There's an entrepreneur in Scotland or Ireland or Wales doing something really awesome, but they don't get the airtime they deserve. I want to give them a platform to be heard and to kind of build on that. So we look for common themes. We look for success stories. We've also started a startup challenge, and all of that together has kind of built really fast an amazing momentum by a simple fact: Celtic people together are better. Because
there's a tagline right there.
Yeah. They're better together. They have a great crack together, but they also are great together because they get each other on a very deep level for a lot of reasons. And for some reason, we've totally neglected this special relationship we have. And now is a great time, especially with everything that's happening in the world, where it's quite easy to see the differences in people than see the commonality. Celtic people need to spend a little more time together and say, hey, you know what? We can make a difference and have a good time too.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you have any examples, case studies that you can provide in terms of where that inter-Celtic connections have really paid dividends?
Yeah, totally. So number one, I don't get paid to do this, right? So I have a day job, so I'm a volunteer to put this together to do a international networking business forum event. So I do think that, hey, I want to see what are the impacts of what we do. And recently we just did one in Lorient, and I have an article that says, hey, is the Interceltic Business Forum just a talk shop? And the article kind of goes deep into what people are saying online after attending. And I can tell you, I didn't pay anybody to say this stuff, and it's amazing. And I hear things like, this is pound for pound the best business networking event that exists that I have ever gone to. This is someone that says this, who goes to some of the best, biggest, baddest events in the world, from Web Summit to all that stuff. There's a ton of positivity and positive energy. But outside of that, well, what's the economic impact? So I said, put people in the room and naturally it'll make magic happen. I'll give an example because I don't have enough time. But last year, there was people from Ireland. There were people from Wales. They heard each other on the round tables, and they're like, hey, man, he's pretty good. That person's pretty good. I like what they're working on. And we always leave a lot of time for networking. They had a few drinks, chatted about what they were doing over networking. 7 weeks later, there was a delegation from Wales of 10 people going to Ireland. They didn't ask for permission, going to Ireland to see what synergies they can build. And they went to multiple cities, and all of that because they met a person at the forum that opened this door and opened that door, and then things happened. So that go-get attitude works really well when you come to a forum because people are really there to help. And I think that's a testament to the people that attend the forum.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. It sounds like such a warm atmosphere, everyone willing to support each other and really sort of lean into the connections.
Totally. I mean, Russell's holding out on you. You need to come next time.
Well, actually, I was looking at coming. It was down in Galway last year, was it?
We did an edition in Galway last year, and this year we were in April in Cornwall and in Brittany in Lorient in August.
Right, yeah. Because last year I know some contacts at the Scottish government, and indeed Russell flew over for it. Unfortunately, I had business commitments that I was unable to meet Russell or indeed attend. But yeah, I'll certainly come across next year.
Yeah, and outside of
Get the
yourself,
dates.
I mean, if you can't fit in Russell's suitcase, just come on your own. And this is probably an open invitation. I feel that Scotland is a little bit, I think, in terms of engagement, behind right now in the forum. I don't want to say it's a competition, but I think all the Celtic nations, when they come to this, they want to look good, and they want to show what they have to offer. Scotland's, in terms of engagement, is a little bit behind. Love SBN's participating and being there from the beginning. But I think right now is a really important moment for Scotland to say, hey, everybody can come to this. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're building a business, if you're looking for entering a new market, I think this is a huge opportunity for people. We had a young startup from Scotland, engineer a career that was there, and you can ask him, the founder, what he thought about attending it. So I think this is kind of an open invitation by Charles here for Scotland to kind of pick up the pace and start attending the forum with someone besides just Russell.
Well, you're Charles, you're giving a Braveheart-esque call to action there. You're riling up the passionate Scot in me. So yeah, let's to any Scots out there, particularly Scottish entrepreneurs, that's a call to action. If I heard one to get involved and engage, and yeah. So on that theme, in terms of engaging, how would we go about it, Charles?
I think showing up.
Yeah. Sorry,
number one.
In terms of finding out the logistics, details about the events, you've got a website.
Yeah, if I was to give an example that is a good one, obviously when you talk about Celtic nations, I think Ireland always floats to the top a little bit. They're their own country. They're Irish are quite go-getters, but sometimes some Celtic nations get forgotten. So when I did this, that was not my desire, right? I think I want every nation to be represented to its fullest, right? Put aside the cliches, really go to the heart of what makes these Celtic nations great and be able to show that for anyone. The Isle of Man in the first ones was not represented at all. And I had this guy on Twitter, a Manx, who's a consultant based in London, who went on Twitter and was like, hey, why is Isle of Man not on having a roundtable or having representation at the forum? So again, I always this is not my day job. So find the right person who can make that happen. And his persistence online on Twitter saying, hey, Isle of Man needs to be at this, paid dividends over a 2-year period. And last year I said, look, I really want an Isle of Man roundtable. And it was an all-woman panel talking about the island and UNESCO biosphere and how they were working on innovation. It was my favorite roundtable of all the roundtables last year. And this year, they upped their game and they showed up. I think they were like 7-8 entrepreneurs from the Isle of Man there. And I can tell you, everyone knew they were there because they were hyping their region up, talking about their businesses, talking about AI. We had a startup called SQR that's doing really great things in the innovation front from the island that was there as well. And they were blowing people away. So that's a great example for Scotland as well. Anyone, if you have ambition, you want to get into new markets, you want to find new customers, you want to make great human connections, I think the forum's for you.
Fantastic. And to find out more about it, Charles, how do we go about that?
Super easy. Just go on the website, Interceltic forum.com. Just go on LinkedIn as well, because we're quite active there on the blog, on the website. There's a ton of articles talking about what we did and what some of the companies are doing. And there's always a few posts every week on the LinkedIn. So don't be shy.
Great. Well, listen, to wrap up, I always like to throw a few questions at you, just quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Awesome.
Can you recommend your favorite book or podcast, Charles?
Might do both. So on the podcast front, I like walking the dog and I go for these long walks. So I listen to a few things. I'm a New York Jets fan, so NFL is starting soon. So I listen to a few New York Jet podcasts, but I also like business podcasts. I'm a marketer, so I think the folks at HubSpot do a great job of this, and they focus on this for a few years. So Marketing Against the Grain, and there's an Irish guy in the mix who and they always do a good job. In books, I have some on my desk. My two latest books. So unfortunately, people read less. So and I think I find time when I'm in the train, going somewhere. So the one that I'm almost done on right now is called Courageous Marketing, and it was the CMO of Gong that wrote that. It's a good one if you're a marketer. One that's more if you're not a marketer that I have that's up on my list next. It's called Talk.
Okay.
And the science of conversation and the art of being ourselves. My gosh, one thing AI will not replace you with is being yourself. So ladies and gentlemen, get this one.
Great. Thanks for those recommendations. I definitely have to check them out. And favorite quotes?
So do I have a favorite quote? So when I was a kid growing up in New York, obviously Breton history was not in the history books growing up in the US. It's funny, now I realize for my son and Brittany, Breton history is not in the history here either. They teach you French history, but not the history of where you're from. Quite depressing. But as a kid, I would try to go a little bit further and get books and stuff. And one of the people that I quite appreciated was the Marquis of Lafayette, who is the hero of two worlds, right? He's very much in the American Revolution and also quite involved when he came home in the theatrics of French history after that. And he had a coat of arms for his family, and it was in Latin, it was cur non, which is basically why not. And I think that's a lot of the things that we do in this world. Sometimes it's the why not is so important, of questioning things and going a little bit further with the why not. There's an NFL quarterback. His name is Russell Wilson. He won the Super Bowl some years ago. He plays for the New York Giants now, and he started why not me. And there was a quote that his dad told him because he's the shortest NFL quarterback. He's quite short for that position, and he won a Super Bowl. So that idea of Lafayette and Russell Wilson on why not me, we should always say that. Why not me? Why not us? And I think that's an example for the Celtic nations. Why not us together? I think we can do some great things together.
Geez, that's fantastic. I love that connection. That's brilliant. I think we'll put that straight to the front of the podcast. That's a fantastic way to finish up. Well, finally, the best advice you've ever received, or some of the best advice you've received.
Yeah, so just thinking offhand, probably my parents have given me great advice, just being immigrants, right? Like when you're an immigrant kid, that's always like, that's a real thing, right? About being proud of where you're from, but maybe not something that was said to me by chance. I was speaking at a conference, and this gentleman came to me, and he said, and I was talking about those connections between Brittany and the U.S., and he said to me, Charles, I love how you're speaking. Clearly, you found your ikigai, and I think that, and I don't know if that's the goal of everyone, but I think in understanding where you're from and sharing it is something special. And I think as humans, if we do that, we might all find our ikigai.
Oh, that's a great note to finish on. Well, listen, I think it takes a special individual, with both that blend of Celtic blood, but also the get up and go, or the why not New Yorker in you as well, to go out and really achieve what you've achieved. And we're all grateful of you bringing together the initiative to bring together Celtic connections and Celtic cultures, and really dialing up the business opportunities for anyone within those regions. So we're very grateful to you, Charles. I'm very grateful for you doing this podcast. I'm delighted that you highlighted that you don't get paid for it, so I'll cancel the big fat podcast fee that I was going to send across.
I think you were going to send me haggis or something, no?
Well, maybe a cheeky bit of ishkabaha. I might get a bottle across to you as a thank you. But no, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really look forward to meeting again. I'm going to make sure I get some events in the diary, and hopefully I'll see you at another Burns night, either Dublin, Scotland, or one of the other Celtic locations.
I appreciate it. My pleasure. As we say in Breton language, Kenavo.
Kenavo.